Well, folks, we have a small project today, but an important one. This is our Magnolia Ann, and you can see that it is reblooming. This has happened a few years now. When do you say we actually planted this? Maybe 3.5, 4 years ago?
2 to 3, I would say.
2 to 3? Yeah, maybe this is the third year.
We'll find out because you can take a look at that footage.
Yeah, so I was actually away. Sonder did the pleasure of actually planting this into the landscape.
Okay, I'm done planting this magnolia tree. So I saw that it was leaning slightly to the left. So that's why I planted it leaning this way, because the sun arcs across the sky over here. So hopefully it will grow more straight that way. I made sure that the soil, that the actual plant is a little bit above the surface. So it's like slightly on its own hill. And then as it grows, we can expand this tree circle here. But for now, we'll keep it nice and small.
So before, we had this really twisty willow. When we got here, that was the plant that was in here, and it was quite large. It was actually much larger than this, and we knew that this driveway was going to get taken over. And then also half the willow was variegated and part of it was not. And you know, with willows, they kind of grow, they crack all different ways. So we ended up taking that out and putting it in the compost heap back there. I think it's probably started to grow up again. But so I decided to get a smaller magnolia that kind of bushes out. And Sonder was saying even the other day that he would like it eventually limbed up. So I did take a couple limbs off. I could probably take this limb off too. But,
yeah, so if you don't do that, it will just become a giant bush from the ground up.
Well, this is a bush.
Or is it more like a tree?
You could see that it only has one stem, so it's not multi-stemmed. And if you want to see a bit of the trunk below, then we could actually start limbing it up. So I started limbing it on this side. The only reason why I didn't take this one off yet is because it had flowers on the other day. And I felt bad kind of taking it out. So normally this will flower in the springtime. But we're in like August territory, early August territory now, and you could see that it's still flowering, and it gives a nice, beautiful pink color. And I figured we'd plant this here. I like the pink because we have a lot of pinkish and purple flowers in the pollinator garden and the hydrangea garden, and we have a series of pink tulips that come up in this lawn afterwards as well. We saw something recently at White Flower Farm, which was executed so nicely. They had a soft landing. Now, if you don't know what a soft landing is, we actually did a whole video on a soft landing. Over where our locust tree is, we planted a very, I would say, hairy soft landing. So lots of different types of plants. And a soft landing essentially is, if I could sum it up, a place where insects, if they're on the tree, they could drop easily down below and then hide. And that's also a place where birds and wildlife could inhabit as well. So instead of kind of the old school way of having a really, really nice mulched circle, people are now starting to plant plants in it. What I liked about the execution of White Flower Farm is they had one geranium planted around a cornice tree. And I think the geranium was Bevan's variety. So I got some of those and a few others, and I think what we're going to do is expand the circle slightly, because this bush has really grown abundantly. Sandra and I will have to determine where it would come out. And then I've started to buy some geraniums and other plants that we could plant in here and have it a bit more kempt look. I like the fact that they were using geranium at White Flower Farm, because we actually have quite a bit of geranium here. This is a geranium samobor, and you can see I started to cut it back. This is where the flower stems come out, and I could even come back and have it more kempt, and you can see it's nice and green with this burgundy red on the leaves. So I left these up because they were flowering again. They were a little late flower, so I could come in here and make that look very kempt. And this is a geranium phaeum, so they bloom a little later into the season. And then we have a number of our native geraniums, Geranium maculatums, planted all throughout here, but you're not going to really see them flowering now. They were flowering really early in the year, kind of alongside with the spring ephemerals. We have a few tools here. Our handy dandy King of Spades, which is one of our favorite tools. And then we have a string line that we could pull so we know that we're making a nice round circle. And then some tree marking paint that we can mark along the ground. And we'll probably end up using Saunders' expertise because he's really good at making tree circles. And then we're going to determine whether we are going to use some of our extra Corten steel edging.
Yeah, we might need some edging on this because the grass will eventually grow just like this into the bed.
Right.
And we do like the grass here, so we're going to keep some grass because you could just walk on it.
Yeah, we were kind of going back and forth saying, should we turn this whole thing into a garden or keep a little grass? But to be perfectly frank, it's really nice to have some grass to break up all the gardens. And I and others
take a shortcut.
Will take a shortcut.
You could walk through
We'll
it.
take a shortcut. We always have to keep in mind that this is where the turtle has buried her eggs. So that little spot right there is just, you think you have dead patches in your yard and you actually have turtle eggs. Here's the Bevan's variety. So this is slightly taller. So when I say ground cover, geranium does offer really nice ground coverage and it does spread out, but it's actually quite high. So I'm thinking like 12 to 16 inches high. I went with another one also. This is the Biocovo, and this one only gets about 6 to 8 inches high and has a bit more of a white flower. I have this planted in the pollinator garden, and I can attest that this is a really lovely ground cover. Next, I got this Campanula punctata pantaloons, which is really fun. It has this like lavender pink pantaloon flower, which is like fluted. It looks like a little hose. So this one also grows quite small, maybe 12 to 18 inches. And I thought like just planting a couple in there, and I might start collecting a couple more. I loved the way that just one plant looked under the White Flower Farms tree, but to be honest with you, I really like how a few species look, and I think that's going to be more useful for a soft landing.
So I got to loop around the tree. I'll hold the spray con on one part of the line and just walk around it. Now, how far out you want to go?
Well, what do you think?
This thing is going to grow. I keep expanding the circle bigger and bigger.
The thing is, I don't want it to go too large because then it's going to start looking awkward. I think.
But this tree will grow more. It's been growing so much.
So I think somewhere maybe around here or here. What do you think? Wow, beautiful.
Okay.
All right, that's a lot of digging. Wow.
That is big.
That's big. So do you want to share with people how you scoop?
Well, you just go straight down on the line, and then you come in from the inside to meet the bottom of your cut here. Although, because this tree is in the way, we're not going to be able to do that. So I like to just go from the side and tip the left side of my blade down. So that way you kind of get a mountain shape that the tree kind of sits on. But we'll have to dig out all the grass, I guess, right?
Unless you want to cardboard it.
Yeah, we'll probably cardboard some of it. I'll probably dig it out till here, and then maybe we should do cardboard anyways to just suppress it, and we have so much cardboard.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
But you don't really need to. You don't really need to cut too much out with this type of edging that we have, the metal.
Yeah, and I'd rather not.
Because the metal is kind of like what I'm doing now. It's kind of a spade.
I'd rather not cut out too much because I did plant other plants in here.
You know what?
bulbs.
We could use this grass. We could use this grass to cover up the trench over there.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if those bulbs will come through it.
Yeah, as long as we don't dig them out.
Can you grab that end and curve it in?
Yep. So let's just share with folks what this is. So we got some of this Corten steel edging. You can see it's starting to rust. That's the way it looks.
Oh,
you get
return it.
What?
We'll have to return it.
Saunders joking, you have to return it. It actually comes silver, but it's supposed to rust. It's kind of the look. We love it because it looks very organic and natural. It kind of matches the house a bit. And we got these directly from Corten. You know, you could see there's a lot of resellers, but it increases the price substantially. And we had this leftover from all the edging that we did around the beds earlier this year, which we were shocked. It didn't take that long to edge all the beds. I think we had somewhere around, gosh, maybe 600 linear feet that we put in less than half a day. And then they have these spikes that basically connect the two if you're connecting them. And believe it or not, this one's not going to be as flexible because it's not as long, but because they're long, they're actually quite malleable and flexible. So we can make some of these organic shapes or circular shapes or things like that, as long as it's not too tight. We had some aluminum edging down there because it's even more affordable, but it's also a bit cheaper, meaning also it's not as nice as the Corten steel edging, but we really like that edging because we had a lot more linear feet to do, and we really wanted to spend the money on the prime stuff up at the top of the land. So that's what we're going to be doing. It looks like we need maybe 2 and some change. Luckily we have a lot of these little pieces too. And what we learned is don't put these on the grass because if it's sunny out, it burns the grass.
Yeah, the metal gets so hot that it'll scorch you. Back to being a camera person.
Yeah. Yeah, Sonder is multi-talented.
Now I get to learn how to film and do that at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. You need more hands. So here we have the geraniums. Because these Biocovos are smaller, meaning they're just not as high as these, I'm going to plant these up close. So actually this area back here, when it really rains, or if we're having a snow melt, this gathers quite a bit of water. So I could see why, because some of this soil is not really pleasant to plant into.
Well, there's no drainage then. Huh?
And then there's a little extra, lots of stones here, as you found out. We're going to be adding some espoma soil to the top of this as well, just some regular garden soil. So
yeah, I wouldn't bury it too deep.
Yeah, I'm not going to bury too deep, otherwise it's going to get really buried. Okay, so this one I'm going to plant a little bit further back, and these will spread. Like I said, these are great ground covers. They just happen to be higher ground covers. And this one, you can see is obviously a little more grown out, and also their leaves have a scent. So if you walk past them,
here,
yeah, they have like a little bit of a kind of rosy, citrusy scent. And this one's a bit of a pinker flower. That one is white. Now I should have ordered 6 of these. I realized I only ordered 5, but I have some of those campanulas, which are bellflowers, commonly known as bellflowers, and those are going to be planted in the place. And this would be an optimal time because we have taken up some of the sod here. I think in the fall it might actually make sense to get some more low-growing tulips and plant them in here, because those tulips will emerge probably right around the time that the geraniums are.
Well, this will actually solve our problem where we had in the spring you want to keep the tulips in this grass, but you also want to cut it low because it's near the paths.
Yeah, this looks still viable, so I'll bury it.
So now if we have this area, we can plant all the tulips in here and keep the rest mowed.
I think that's a great idea. So we might have to sacrifice some of the tulips in the lawn.
Or dig them up.
Or dig them up,
You could just, once they come up, you know where they are.
What's nice about planting bulbs is that you could plant them in the same profile as the perennial plant, the herbaceous perennial that you're planting here, which is great. So instead of just having mulch, we're basically creating this living mulch, which will still cool the roots of the tree. And as we offer more deeper rooted plants in here, when we do have those heavy rainfalls, then this might actually help in sucking up some of that extra water. It's nice to be able to plant these now, because if this tree, this magnolia, gets too established, you're gonna start hitting tree roots, and that's not ideal. So if you're gonna do this soft landing, or whatever you wanna call it, planting around your mulch circle, this is probably the time to do it when the tree is still very young. We did the soft landing in a very well-established tree down there, and it was a lot harder. Luckily, I was mainly planting corms, like the trillium corms, and you don't have to dig so deep. This is our updated magnolia here. You can see that we did the corten steel edging around the edge, which is really sharp, and just started planting those geraniums and the campanula in here. As I shared, these will grow out, but if you have some green fingers and you really want to see it flushed out immediately, then by all means, get more plants. I think come September, I'll probably order some small tulips and plant them in here, because Saunders' right, we always want to mow this lawn, but then we have the tulips coming up in it. And so I think that what we'll do is just transport some of the tulips from here over and then get some new ones, and it'll just be a nice floriferous area here under the magnolia. Now, I think that these mulch circles are really a thing of the past, and if more people start to do these soft landings, like I shared in White Flower Farm, they had like one plant and it looked really nice, it looked really kempt. I would also imagine that this could be a possible way that people in suburban areas that have HOAs could maybe get away with having a little garden, is they have this beautiful mulched area underneath the tree. Maybe they even edge it so it looks really refined and finished. And then you have your little garden plants or your ground covers in here. I mean, I've never had to deal with an HOA, and I know a lot of folks in suburban areas will say, I can't have a meadow, or I can't have my lawn or my garden looking like this because neighbors complain. But this may be a way to get around it. I don't know. For those of you who are living in areas like that and with an HOA, tell me in the comments below. But I would imagine that this is a nice middle ground that won't get too many people angry. So yeah, maybe these plants that act as a live ground cover are a thing of the future. Soft landing for insects, gardening for insects. I think these are a great way to go about it. I'll see you in the next episode.